All right.
Are you ready to smoke?
Not
Oh, wait, it was
sure what is happening.
I have a motion to. All right, we are going to call to order here at 3:30 on March 11th. We'll roll call. Mark?
Here.
John is not here. Caroline?
Here.
I am here. Kevin? No. Bill? You're here? Bill is here virtually. And then Retha.
Yes, present.
So that confirms our quorum. I just sent the minutes out. You guys should have had those in your inbox. Is there any discussion on those?
Bill, I don't know if you have them in front of you, but I did change the Harcourt reference to Willard Street Extended.
Okay.
I'd make a
Well, I
motion.
thought that's what it was supposed to be, so.
Yes, thank you.
I will make a motion to approve the amended minutes.
So there's a motion on the table from Mark.
I'll second.
We have a second. Any discussion? All right, we'll take a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, we're going to carry that through. Old business.
Can you also approve the memorandum of the
I missed
executive?
that. Sorry.
That's okay.
We have we did a executive session on February 18th. That memorandum is here as well in front of us if somebody wants to make a motion.
I make a motion to approve the memorandum.
I'll second.
Jerry makes a motion, Mark seconds. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? All right, so yes, we've got both paths there.
Thank you.
And we don't have any old business? Other than, no, we don't have any old business.
No, the only thing I would just reference is
We can
that,
bring this report back that
yeah,
Ryan had shared with us from the treasury. And everybody has that you can see their beginning balance there. There was some invoices that came in, correct? That's what you were sharing with me before from.
2024, or he's got, yeah.
He's got 2024.
He's
but I
got
think that's
2024, it should be
especially noted
2025.
2025.
Yeah.
From
Thomas Pittman, our attorney's
Okay.
office, yes.
who helped us get everything through. So. Perfect. Let's so we met with in our executive session, we had Nick and Anton with us, and we discussed what other people have done in other areas for
Yes.
TIF districts. Anyways, one thing that came up was the discussion was one of the first questions that are asked a lot of times is, "Hey, what do you have for utilities?" And talking to Retha, we said, "Well, we've got what utilities do the city provide now?" And for that reason, we have Amanda's here as a city engineer, and Mitch is here as a water superintendent. And they're going to share with us kind of some opportunities some studies they've done in the past, what it looks like, and what a future study might look like, so that we would have that answer.
And if you guys remember, Anton was going to send kind of a list of some of those first questions. He has not done that yet. He did respond to my email and say, "Hey, I'm really sorry. Things went into junk mail. I'm rebranding this and then I'll get it out to you." But I think it was John Cook who kept saying, is it true if you build it, will they come? Like, do we know where we're at? And he said in that executive session that one of your first things that a site selector, or developer, anybody looks at is, tell me what capacity is available. What do I have with the infrastructure that we provide, which is sewer and water? So we talked about issues with NIPSCO at that session, and just, hey, when that's taken care of, which is hopefully in the near future, are we ready to go? If they want to come to the south or they want to come to the north, like, what do we know? Do we know we're there? And so I had come in then that next day, I think, and asked Amanda, do we know our sewer capacity? Do we know our water capacity? And Amanda will share with you, we just recently had a sewer study done, so I was very glad to hear that, but we do not have a water study on file. So that is something she's gonna talk about, and then I wanted to tell you guys quickly as well. We talked about letting people know, being better and proactive with our economic development information and what that can look like. And so I told you that we were getting a new website built. And Amanda's staff has recently, I say recently because I think we've just really recently dug into uses. Can you let the record show John showed up at 3:36? We talked about, again, just spreading the word, like we want to be more proactive on letting people know. And so Amanda's staff has an ARC GIS system. Is that what you would call it? I say ARC GIS, but a whole new GIS system that has just got limitless capabilities. Her assistant Nick is just amazing at programming, setting up maps, finding and figuring out all different kinds of things. And so they are willing to work with us for a page on our new website that we can share, we can send out on social media as well. They've already got a Facebook page for projects being built in town already, but we can do all kinds of things. We'll be able to publish studies, we'll be able to show maps, we'll be able to talk about areas that are in our TIF, we can share that, we can just do all kinds of things. So her staff is more than willing to help us do that. With a page on our website that can be shared, pretty regularly as well to spread that word. So I'm really excited about that too. And I wanted to get that out there because we talked so much about how do we tell people we're here? How do we spread that word? What do we do? And so I wanted to make sure you knew that.
Perfect.
Whenever you feel like you're ready, I think I can put you in contact with the group down in Fort Wayne that's done a lot of the stuff in Fort Wayne, done a lot of the stuff at the Auburn exit. And we'll probably want to talk to you about doing stuff out at 69 and 22, Retha, if and when you think it's time and when you're ready.
Okay.
I can put you in contact with that person.
Is that the spec building that you were talking about? Okay.
He and Walt and Jerry and those guys, they're not opposed to putting up either a couple of 50,000 square foot buildings or even a couple of 100 square foot buildings with the intent that they can separate them if need be. But his comments were, and I think I mentioned it in the last meeting, is he gets calls. He said, I get at least one call every day or one call every week that wants to come and see what we have. But they don't want to see land. They want to see a building that's under roof, that's maybe not, the concrete's not even there yet, or they haven't put the ceiling in because these people may want certain height ceilings. But they want to be able to see a spot and say, we want to move in 90 days, and they can have it finished in 90 days.
Okay. Yeah.
So,
I mean, we'll talk about capacity. I think that there's great capacity out there at Innovation Park, which is why that new water tower was put there years ago for that. So we can look at that as well. I think, and Eric may allude to this, I think what we're going to end up asking, if you guys see the value in this water study, you see a value in the sewer study that we received, we're going to ask for the possibility of helping to pay for the water study. And I think we all see value in that, especially after talking to, during our executive session and hearing what developers and site selectors do. I think that we all recognize that that's super important for us to do. And so what we're willing to do there, Carrie, as I was going back through the old meeting, you mentioned multiple times about small wins, things that we can do right away.
Yep.
That says, hey, how do we keep momentum? How do we start momentum? What can we do as a board to help out, and what are some small wins? And to me, this is one. Again, I don't vote, you guys do, and Amanda will present that, but I want you to know that that's going to be something we don't necessarily have to decide tonight what that looks like, but we're going to say, hey, can we cost share this? Can we pay for this? Whatever you guys think. So I will introduce Amanda. If she wants to get up, this is Amanda Cope, for those of you that do not know, our city engineer.
Hand me the
Yes.
bad too.
Thank you.
Okay, so kind of like Retha talked about, you know, the developers, like, what's your capacity? So Retha would come to either myself or Jeff, who runs the wastewater plant, and says, we have 300 houses coming in, can the sewer plant handle that? And we'd say, yeah, we think so. And then the next week, you know,
We hope
someone would call and they want to put in whatever. And so the mayor, Retha, would come to us and say, well, now we want to do 3 apartment buildings. Can the sewer plant hold that? Yeah, I think so, but you're still doing this over here? Well, maybe, maybe not. So we know what our capacity is right now, you know, and we can tell you that. But when we have growth opportunities all over the city and we don't know timing, we don't know, you know, what it's going to look like, when it's going to come, then that makes it harder to answer that question. It becomes more of a, yeah, we'll take whoever gets here first situation. So we answered that question enough times that Jeff and I were like, you know, we really should have a study to truly know where are we at, where are we going, if we grow, how much growth can we handle before, from the wastewater side, before we can't handle anymore, and then what do we do? So we did a master plan that specifically looked at the wastewater plant. So I'll just give you kind of a high overview of that for those of you that aren't familiar with that. So wastewater plant obviously treats all of the wastewater that the city generates. So there's really 2 components. You flush your toilet, water goes down a drain, all of that has to get from wherever you're at to the wastewater plant. So that's our collection system. Those are the manholes, the pipes, the lift stations, all of those things to get to the wastewater plant. And then the wastewater plant has to treat all of that, clean all of that water, and then discharge it into a ditch. So 2 different parts. So this study looked at both of those because both of those have a capacity associated with them. Pipes are only so big, can only handle so much water. We have a point where we can't accept anymore. And then the plant is only so big, can only handle so much water. What do we do? So kind of a little bit of overview of that. So the wastewater plant is regulated by IDEM. So we have someone that we answer to, we have a permit, and we're only allowed to treat so much water. Our plant is permitted to treat 1.7 million gallons per day. That's what it is. We can't go over that average for that. So we are right now averaging 1.15 million gallons a day. So you do the math, we're about 70% capacity of the plant. So we looked at, this is where we're at. We hired a company, they looked at our entire collection system and they modeled that. So they knew how much flow all the pipes could handle as it was coming to the plant. And then kept it within that 1.7 million gallons per day. So we looked at it from 2 different kind of avenues, and we looked at this at a 20-year span. So in 20 years, if the city doesn't do anything different than what it's done for the last 20 years, how are we going to grow? Are we going to grow or are we not going to grow? The historical data shows like a 0.4% growth rate that Angola has. So we looked at kind of 2 future scenarios. 1, we grow at that growth rate. And then 2, in 20 years, we have grown beyond that. And then we identified specific areas of growth. So to identify those areas, we picked 7 different areas that are either prime for development, or we had people coming and talking about development or potential projects. So that's what we looked at. So it wasn't just a arbitrary, we're going to grow everywhere all the time. We looked at 7 specific areas. So in looking at that, in 20 years, if we didn't do any sort of other development and we just grew at our historical rate, we would go to from 1.15, which is our average now, to 1.25. So still within our permitted allotment, still okay. If we grow within these 7 areas we have identified, we would go to 2.79. So obviously that's over what we're allowed. So then it's like, okay, what do we do now? How do we grow? What's that gonna cost? And in kind of what methodology do we need to do this? And that's really what this study got into. So kind of the things that I was going to show, deliverables that kind of easy to see are these graphics here. So what's on the screen is just our existing collection system. So we have gravity sewer, we have force main sewers, just 2 different types, really. We don't have to get into the nitty gritty and all of that. But,
I like nitty gritty. So blue is force main
oh,
or
That mouse there's a lag when you're,
I see that. So the blue are force mains. So those are attached to lift stations. We have 23 lift stations. And then the orangish yellow, whatever color you see, it's
The
gravity.
mustard, could you say
Mustard, yes, the
Okay.
mustard color. So you can see a lot of our system, we're pretty flat here, so a lot of it's gravity, which is cheaper. So it is a positive for us.
I've heard, and I don't know if this is true, but I've heard that the waste district is getting ready to put in some more, I'm gonna call them pumps. How does that affect this? And am I using the right word, pumps?
Yes, so the waste district is like solely force main, so they don't have any gravity. So every home has a pump station. So like if you live in town here, almost everyone, you flush your toilet, it goes gravity out your house and you don't worry about it. Like I'm on the waste district, I flush my toilet, it goes into another little grinder station, a pump then pumps it off my property. That's how they operate. I can't answer that on if they have any plans on any other projects. Historically, so they have a contract. They have something that says that they can expand into Pleasant Township. We have talked to some consultants on that, on what is the risk of them coming into our territory or vice versa. And it seems to be pretty low. Like if it is an area that we are serving or plan to serve, we would kind of have the priority if it's within city limits over that. But so this map kind of shows the areas that we looked at. So anything shaded in the red there are areas of what we consider future development. So areas that we think are going to develop, we want to develop, and they were high probability. So it wasn't just stab in the dark, hey, I'd love way east of town to develop it. It were things that were in the works. So we looked at right by Meyer, so the Saranova of looking at the commercial and the residential. Eastland Crossing, the rest of that. The other one that is over there is the Sheets property. So we looked at that. We included Pokagon. So we're currently under a project right now to extend water and sewer to Pokagon State Park. So we included that in the study. How is that going to affect us when we hook them up? And then any other development that comes with that.
Pokagon is not currently in the waste district?
No, they have their own plant.
They're still using their own plant?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So as part of this project, their plant will be decommissioned and then we will serve them.
They did work with the waste district a couple of years ago. They did something.
So when this project started, of connecting utilities to Pokagon, we were only serving water and the waste district was serving sewer. And then the DNR came to us and said, will you serve sewer as well?
And we've heard, like out at Saranova, we've heard that there's a couple of new businesses coming out there. How does that affect the water supply? At what level?
So we use some basic like industry standards. So we looked at the zoning map. So Retha's zoning map that has it broke out between residential and commercial, and then put in some generic industry standards of this is how much water they're going to use and this is how much wastewater it's going to generate. So it's all modeled. It can all be changed and modified. Like we could go back if it was, now something that's like a huge high users coming in, we could go back and change this model, but that's how it was set up. It's just kind of generic.
And this study that she's showing, remember, is only wastewater.
Yes.
Are there any particular bottlenecks in the distribution network that are worthy of noting?
Yes. So we'll get to that.
Okay.
So we talked about the top ones, Pokagon. We looked at southeast of Reddington Heights. That was potential for development at one time of residential. And then we also looked at Pleasant Lake. So there's a study being done right now of feasibility of a community serving Pleasant Lake with water and sewer. And we are one of the communities that's in that study. This mouse is awesome. I love it.
Listen,
We'll get there.
it's better if you're closer, but it's so hard. I tried to do it from over here, and that's when we learned very quickly this does not work.
That did not include like Fox Lake.
It did not. So this kind of gets into your question. So then it starts looking at existing conditions. So if you just look at the colors, that's really kind of what's going to jump out. Anything that's blue or green, we have significant capacity that's left. The red, pink, even the yellow, now it's like, okay, how much capacity do we have left? And that's existing. That's just what's out there right now and what's serving. So you can kind of see we're in a good position in our collection system, but there are pockets of, yellow here and areas that we're more concerned with.
Do you want me to try it from over here if I'm just scrolling down?
Yeah, it's just going through these maps.
Okay, so here you're looking at peak capacity. The numbers you mentioned before
Yes.
were averages.
So
Should we really be looking at peak?
we have, in the permit, we have an average flow that we can treat and a peak hour flow that we
Okay.
can treat. So there's two different numbers.
Okay.
In design, you always design to the peak hour flow because we want to design for the most that's going to come at us at one time. These are just, you scroll down a little bit more. So these are still the existing system, and this is just like kind of the south half. So these are broke up between the north half of the city and the south half. A lot of green, a lot of blue, pretty good areas here. Keep going.
Is there yellow over there with the university?
Yes. The lift station at Trine is at capacity. So we have talked to Trine that if they experience any growth there that goes into that lift station, the lift station will have to be replaced.
They can get it away, it looks like, from the university. They just have to get it to the point to get it away.
Correct. Yes. Go one more. So we looked at this both from a collection system and a lift station system. So these maps are a little bit redundant, I guess. One more. Okay, so this is where it starts looking at the future growth. So we had lots of greens and blues before. Now you can start seeing pockets of pink, yellow. These are areas that we're concerned with. So if we have this growth in our collection system, we're going to have bottleneck areas that we can't serve to that capacity without doing some upgrades. So these are the maps that are really crucial to us that we can better answer when Retha or the mayor comes to us and says, hey, if Serenova gets developed and it is, 500
lots at
houses
commercial,
or
yeah.
whatever it is, like Serenova's a good one. Their residential area, it connects into sewer that is pink. So that is area that we can't serve them without upgrading that. So those are things that we need to be prepared for. Is that a city project to serve Serenova? Is that telling Serenova, sorry, we would like to serve you, but we can't? What does that look like? At least now we have the data, we have the answers. Before we were like, yeah, we're good, and only looked
Sure,
at the
this'll
plant
work.
and didn't look at the collection system. So that's kind of what this study has kind of brought out. And then the south area, and you have the same thing from the south to take Pleasant Lake. You see pockets of pink in there. So we maybe could take Pleasant Lake and the plant can treat it, but our collection system can't to get there. So that's what is getting produced in this study. So that is kind of the general basis of the plan. So also within there, but in full transparency, this hasn't been shared with the mayor, so I'm not comfortable sharing costs. But also in here is a cost breakdown of if Serenova expands and we need to replace X feet of collection system, what's that gonna cost? If we need to upgrade our plant, what's that gonna cost? So that's all broke down in there as well.
You'll have to go from where you're at now. At some point, you have to update plan as soon as you.
Correct.
Is that? I mean, that's sooner than. I guess you got. What did you say? You're at 70%.
Yeah,
But it doesn't take much. It doesn't
got
take
about
much
a
to get
half
to
a
that.
million gallons to play with at the plant.
Yes. So what we also did with this study is we looked at kind of two different scenarios in regards to both the collection system and the plant. One is that we don't grow at all. It's just existing conditions. Everything ages, right? So 20% of our collection system is over 100 years old. The plant, I think, started in the 40s. So everything gets old. Everything needs replaced. So we have line items and cost in there of status quo, but we need to keep cleaning water. What's that going to cost? And then we have line items we want to grow. What's that going to cost? So it is all broke down.
I got a question quick for Bill. You could maybe answer this one. Where you say Serenova is going to be close with a residential. I mean, if they do residential, it's going to turn pink. Bill, when you would have been involved probably when Meyer came in and some of that, you guys probably went through something similar to this. Is that fair? You guys planned on future expansion out there?
Well, I think Amanda covered it pretty good, but I can, I've been gone a while, but from my memory, I remember things like if you go out to 100 North, I know that there's a 12-inch water main headed west there. And then I'm pretty sure if you go down to, that would be, Gerald Lat 200 West, I'm pretty sure there's 12-inch water main headed north. There's out when they initially ran water to the Y, I'm pretty sure that was like a 12-inch water main, and then probably, I guess, Leroy Sturry extended that up 827, I'm assuming.
So I guess what my question is, Bill, it sounds like you guys, I mean, it's the same process we've been doing this. The city's doing this process over and over.
Yes.
And you've been through this is what I guess my question is, it sounds like.
I just want to touch on one thing about this. Bad things can happen. I remember, I was there when, like, I'm going to say the late 90s, early 2000s, when the city was having all the combined sewer overflows. And Amanda will know, like, when you do a project, you have to fill out this sheet, the flow and everything. And it was when Mutton was doing Walmart, they actually held us up. We couldn't issue any more permits because of the combined sewer overflows. But then we got busy, the city got busy and did a bunch of separation projects and some other things that the guys did at the plant, but they did actually stop development there for a little while. So you do have to stay on top of it.
Yeah, I think to kind of go off that, Eric, like we have been doing that and we have been intuitively planning. But this, I think, takes it to the next level of putting some real costs and some real data and things that we could take this and, if the city had a priority of like, we really want this area to develop, we could take this model and know what's going to happen on the utility side, on the sanitary side, and know the costs and be proactive to provide those things. Mm-hmm. You talked about the spec building. Well, it's no different on the utility side of if that is already there, that's a huge cost break to these developers. And those are things that if the city wants to be proactive to do that, we have the plan and the data to do that. So, that's kind of the broad overview, and this is wastewater only. So now Jeff and I feel a lot better, you know, when Retha, the mayor, says, hey, can we service that? But now poor Mitch is like, yeah, I think we can. Yeah, so it's almost like, what do we do now? And we talked about like the age of the sewer lines. It's no different. He has 100-year-old water mains, and he has water mains that have 14 clamps.
Yeah.
You know, so we have our distribution system
Is more clamps better?
no, it is not, unfortunately. So that is our desire, to do basically the same thing on the water side as we did on the wastewater side. If you could pull up in the PDF. So when Retha talked to us about it, and Mitch and I talked about it, and we're like, yes, we would love to do this. We see the value, we see the benefit. Reached out to the same company that did our wastewater study and said, what do you think about the water side? You've already worked with us. And we had a good meeting. They provided a proposal to us of,
And I should have copied this for you guys. Amanda sent it to me and I
Is there a
didn't.
BOGO special?
I think we did.
listen, this one's cheaper than the wastewater. So
Quite a bit
They
cheaper,
had a lot of our
actually.
information
They would have
already.
yeah,
But if we didn't do water, then the wastewater would be able to keep up. That's another way to look at it.
But you look at the scope of work and they really are digging in. I mean, they look at so much that we don't think of. We're just like, oh, is it a 12-inch, a 6-inch line? Like, what's that capacity? But they dig in and look at lots and lots of different things. And I can print you guys off a copy of this if you would like to see it.
I just, to touch on the sewer thing, have we had any sewer overflows in the last 5 years?
we're having one right now.
Are we? Okay.
This rain that we've had.
So Bill is what Bill touched on in the ban and all of that. I mean, he's exactly correct. We had a lot of issues, and the city spent a lot of money to separate those sewers. We're about
Do we have any combined storm sewer in?
97% separated. The 3% that's left, really, unless it's a major road project, it's not economically feasible to go out and just do those. And that has cut down on our CSOs considerably. I mean, obviously, we had a ton of rain last night, but we average
And I take it there's still,
3 a year
Yes,
versus
that,
there's
yeah.
still some like ghost infiltration of like,
Sure.
we always get more than we should. Anyway.
Yes, yeah. We spend money every year to camera our lines. We do lining projects, which is basically like you go in the line that is, clay or concrete or whatever it is that has infiltration, and you put a liner in the inside, and that makes it structurally sound so water can't come in. So we're,
Lose a little capacity, but
so-
gain in terms of
yeah,
infiltration.
we're trying to do all the preventative we can, because that's a lot cheaper than ripping up the whole road and putting a whole new line in. Doing that right now, it's not cheap.
I have a question. I think I think I know the answer, but I want to hear you guys. You mentioned when you first started that if we don't grow in the next 20 years, what we have is perfectly fine. I think that's what I heard you say.
Yeah, if they just provide the historical growth,
Yeah.
which is like that 0.4% of what they said,
But
yes.
if we do grow, then I think you said we're going to need 2.7, I think is the number you used.
That was the upper limit, right?
Yes.
I guess my question is, and I've never just out and out asked the mayor this, but you guys probably hear him talk about it. What's the mayor's direction? And I'm asking because one, I've never asked him, and two, you could argue that in the past, under different leadership, our growth was very, very moderate. And in some cases with the commissioners and stuff that was in place, that was kind of the direction, I feel like, is moderate. I mean, we weren't pushing to grow, I don't think, with old commissioner. Now, we got different commissioners, we got a different mayor. So I guess my question is what are you guys hearing is the direction in the next 10 years?
Yeah, I'm gonna answer for a second. The mayor's got a saying that he tells you guys in here. What is his saying that he keeps telling you over and over and over?
We're not growing, we're dying.
And what's the other one? How you hear it all the time, how you're not going fast enough. What is it? He's got
Speed of light.
the speed of light. Everything's got to move.
So
at the speed of
annoying.
light. So to answer your question, they can answer it how they work with it, but I can tell you, I don't know how many times I've heard of speed of light, or if you're not growing, you're dying. But go ahead and answer it. But that's from a spectator.
Everybody's focused on growth, and I wouldn't say this plan is aggressive growth. We looked at 7 areas that developers have came to us and said, we really want to invest money and do this. So we aren't looking at like, this field way over here that no one's talking about, wouldn't that be great? Like, these are real people that have came to us and said, we want to do this, and that's how we generated that. So this plan really, in my opinion, is not aggressive growth. It is moderate growth, and I think would be realistic. So if you only look at that in realistic, we're looking at a lot of money that needs to be invested to do some upgrades to keep up on the utility side.
I'm glad to hear you say that. I mean, I'm glad to hear him say that too, because, again, you could argue this all you want, but my biggest frustration in the past 15 years is we're not even going, it's not that we're going at the speed of light, we're not going anywhere. I mean, and that was I feel like that was from the direction that, I'm not blaming anybody, I just think that was the direction not you guys, but we were given.
I think, I don't want to say in defense of that by any means, but I think, we have a strategic plan that honestly we were going to revisit again because it was done kind of quickly a couple years ago. It's time for us to do a new comprehensive plan, which is something that the planning department does to say, hey, we're expecting to grow here. This is what we think this area should be zoned, these things. And so we're going to revisit that next year as well. But I think, and Mark, you have already expressed some frustration with certain infrastructure such as NIPSCO and other things that have blocked some development. We've had some potential housing developments that they find out what they have to pay NIPSCO and they just kind of back down. But I think the team that we have in place now, and Amanda and I have talked about this, we want to plan. We're willing to be strategic, be creative, figure out some ways to make things happen. And I feel like you guys, as a redevelopment commission as well, we have talked about, we're willing to take a risk. If you don't take a risk, you don't get great reward sometimes. And so we are willing to say, hey, which is why we spent a year expanding that TIF district. We've had a TIF district that's never been bonded against. It's never been used. It had some money in it. Now we're hoping this is going to grow. And what can we do as a redevelopment commission to say, we're willing to take that risk. We're willing to spend some of this money down and expect that we're going to get some back in those disbursements. But we're willing to do this because we believe in it. We believe in economic development. We believe that we have something special in our community and we can grow and we can do these things. And so I think all of this combined with the team that we have at the city, I think with the boards and commissions that we have, I think we're poised to do some things. And honestly, our department heads are just phenomenal and they're willing. Like when Amanda called Mitch and said, hey, what would you think about doing a study? I don't have to do any work for that. Amanda does, Mitch does. Like I'm just saying, hey, we want to know what our water capacity is. What does that mean for you guys? And Amanda was right on it, called Mitch, and Mitch is right on board. Like they're willing to say, okay, yeah, this is for economic development. It's for our community. It's for our strategic growth. And just to know where we have issues, where we have opportunities. And I think everybody's willing to take those steps, and maybe they weren't before. I don't know.
I think I'll share in a visualization from a development side and from a city side. The developer had to take the path, if we use the sewer water, they had to take the path all the way to the city. Now we're talking about the city giving some ground towards that developer, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
And when you say the direction, I don't think they had a direction. I think it was a mindset, which maybe is the same thing, a different way of saying it. But the mindset now is, from what I've experienced, is, hey, how can the city come closer to meeting the developer? And that's my question now. If I use that visualization, is we spend money on this. and figure this water side out, right? There's some cost to the city then to put the infrastructure in. What is this gonna relieve? Because that's a question we have to ask. What kind of relief will this provide? The first question was, is this gonna make it more attractive for developers? Because they asked that question. We want to make sure we can have the answer. The next question is, how does this make it, how can we attract it, or how can we lessen the burden of that developer so that we make sure they do come to the area? So how does this help with that? Can you guys answer that question or maybe not?
I think one way it can be, so, water and wastewater, because they are revenue generating utilities. I mean, we all have capital plans, we all have, that, but they have to submit that every single year. It's what rates are based off of, it's, all of that. With this data on the wastewater side, it makes that 5-year capital plan so much more valuable. Because if we know we're targeting this area and we have to spend $100,000 in collection system improvements, we can now put that in our capital plan, which we didn't know about that. We didn't know before. And now we're budgeting, we're planning for that. And it's not a, oh shoot, they want that, what are we gonna do situation. So I think that is a way that lessens the burden per se, because we can look out and start forecasting and planning that.
So I don't know those departments well enough, but there is, I'm gonna use the wrong word, it's not a surplus, but it is revenue generating, and you're forced to spend X amount of dollars every year anyways. So now it's giving you a direction on where to spend some of those. Is that, you have to spend them, Mitch? How do you, I mean, you have no problem spending it probably.
We're not really forced to spend it. It's
Okay.
just how it gets spent.
Okay.
I guess, more or less.
We're not
Is
generating a profit.
Correct.
We are charging water and sewer rates that cover these projects, that cover Mitch's staff, Jeff's staff, all of the equipment and plants to treat all of that. So all of that is funded by taxpayers, by you guys and your utility bills. Whereas like the work that I would do, the work that Retha does, we're funded by property taxes and another stream, but they're getting money in. Is that fair?
But these studies, I mean, Mitch, can you speak to the importance of that study for just your daily activities? Is there, I mean, what's that benefit for you to have a similar study for the water that we did for sewer?
well, I think like Amanda said, it just gives us a direction, like where we should focus on, what we have and what we need,
Right.
where to go with it.
It'll tell you where the bottlenecks are.
Yeah.
You need to expand here, we're gonna need this much.
Yeah, I mean, we have some of that just institutional knowledge, like so Mitch and I haven't been here super long, but there are people that have been, that know that hydrant, we can't open that, don't use that one, go to this one, and just know that, but to have that data and have that to where it's like, okay, let's, instead of knowing we can't ever use that, let's fix it, and let's, make some improvements.
From our perspective, the utility studies really save developers time. Because they say, what is available at this site, right? And how much would it cost to get what we need? If they are serious about it, they do their homework and they figure out how much they need. And then it's, can we get that much, right? And they would like us to be able to provide a ready answer.
Well, it seems like a dual benefit to me. I mean, it's getting us closer to meeting a developer, wherever they may be, but it's also valuable information for our community, our city. How can we be strategic and avoid redundancies in service or maintenance, whatever it may be? So, yeah.
I'm very supportive of this, and I don't want you to think, Retha, that when you hear my frustration, it's with the city planner or the city engineer. It's not with any of them at all. It's always been, in the past, I felt like, and maybe it's just me, but I felt like in the past, a lot of the people's hands have been tied. That's why I ask what's the mayor's direction, because we could all have the best laid plans in the world to go 100 miles an hour, but he could put the brakes on all that if he wanted to, or our commissioners could.
Go ahead, Bill.
Well, I just wanted to say, I think the reason you think that the growth has been, say, moderate or whatever, is the development costs have just skyrocketed. I mean, we used to figure, $20 a ton for asphalt, and I don't even know what it is now. Amanda will know, but
About $120.
yeah, but the developers at this point, the stuff you're talking about is great because the reason there's not more happening is the costs are so high. The developer has to get, I mean, under the current situation, and Amanda can correct me if I'm wrong, under the current situation, the developer has to get the mainline utilities, which may include sewer, water, storm sewer, detention ponds, has to get all of that stuff to the site. Now, in the past, they did do a development, they were called availability agreements, where the developer might be able to recoup some of those, but most of the time, they didn't recoup a whole lot. But anyway, then say a subdivision, then they have to move the dirt, have to grade it, then the utilities go in the ground, then they have to do the road, the curbs and stuff, before they can even start building. So the reason not more is happening is because not a lot of people want to take that amount of risk, and then people will say, well, oh, $60,000 a lot. Well, yeah, it is because, curb and gutter, I've been gone 8 years. What's curb and gutter a foot now, Amanda? 20 bucks
Probably.
or?
No, oh gosh, no. Over 50.
And the other thing is, so if they do 100-lot subdivision and, they're getting 60,000 a lot or whatever, people think they're getting rich. But they don't really get anything recouped till they get down to the last, 20 lots. I mean, that's so, but now the city, that said, the city likes to capture that tax improvement on that land. They like that to happen. So anything they can do to make that happen is going to be an improvement. But I just think, people that are willing that have that much money aren't willing to take the risk anymore when they can, put it in a CD or a stock index and get a guaranteed thing. If it was easy, everybody would be doing it.
Yeah.
And I think too that when you look at that cost of development, and Bill is not wrong when we talk to builders and developers and they say, listen, if I'm zoned R3 and my lot has to be 60 feet wide, they are paying a certain amount per lineal foot of that lot. We allow high density at 60 foot. Some communities are still at 100 foot. I mean, they want bigger lots. That's how they want their developments, and that's okay. But what the huge push is right now, and it's a push from the state with House Bill 1001, it's a push from developers, it's a push from builders, is them going, this isn't going to pay off if I can't fit 250 houses in here. It's not going to pay off. And if I'm requiring 80-foot lots, they can't do it. And they're paying so much per lineal footage of road frontage because curbs are expensive, roads are expensive. We require sidewalks, we require landscaping, we require detention ponds to be sized for certain things. So when you look at all the cost of development, it is very, very expensive. And so we're seeing communities now, and we're working on some things in our community of what are some areas in our standards and our development standards and ordinances that we require that maybe we can back off on that a little bit. Can we say, okay, lots, maybe these 3 zonings could be 60 feet instead of 80 feet and 100 feet and then 60 feet. Like what can we do to get a higher density, to get more houses, to make development a little bit easier for people? Can we go from, 1 ingress egress every 50 houses to 1 ingress egress every 100 houses? Like those are certain things that we are looking at. Amanda and I have talked a lot about as a city, because Bill's not wrong. we would say, well, you have to get infrastructure from point A to point B to build, and that's on you as a developer. And sometimes that's $100,000. I don't know. I'm just throwing out. And so we've talked about how are ways that we can help get that infrastructure and help foot that bill, and what are things that we can do to make that development a little bit cheaper. But with SB1 that you guys have all heard about, and property tax cuts and different things, we're limited on our funding now on things that we can do. But we don't want to be stagnant. If you're not growing, you're stagnant, you're dying or whatever. We don't want to be that way. So we want to keep pushing, going, what are some things that we can do? And again, a water study like this, for us to go, hey, Mitch, I got somebody looking at this area. What's that line size that runs there? And do you have the capacity to serve it? Instead of him going, I'm not sure we could try it or whatever. If he had all that information, he could go, yeah, we're good. Or you know what? I'd pull him over here. We would need to do this and that. So, I mean, there's so many areas to development that are confusing, but it's just not simple. There's not one simple piece to say. But I think as a board, we have all said, what are some things that we can do? What can we do to spur that? What can we do to make that easier? And that's why I felt right away when I found out we did pay $78,000, am I right, for the sewer study, and we've got that done. That's awesome.
So
now can we help with
would
this?
you characterize
study?
that as being at a point where if someone did come, a developer that was interested, you could show this to them and say, here's what it would take for your sewer? Or, yes, we have the capacity, and I can say that confidently.
Yeah, so what I showed you was like the plan, some static maps, but what we've also done is created a whole modeling GIS system. So if you came in and you said, I want to buy this 100 acres here, what's that going to look like? We could go into that, look at your property specifically, reanalyze the hydraulic modeling and tell you, oh, this is what it's going to be. So it can be all the way down site specific, and we've.
So in terms of our sewer, we already have the capability to say, here's what we have.
But we won't know, I think Amanda says, we can do that, we can tell them that, but there won't be a cost associated with it at this point in time. That's the.
Yeah, I mean, they could come back and say, really, we need to upgrade 100 feet of the sewer to accommodate what you want to do. We could put some
You can
generic
say,
numbers.
You can say what the
and
need is, and when you say generic numbers, estimates. See, and that already saves the applicant 2 years of time.
They won't do it. That's what happens more time. He said it saves time, but most of the time, what I've
They'll be
experienced,
like,
they'll just walk away.
I
You
have-
don't. You
right,
guys have
'cause
seen
if the
that.
answer-
They don't know if you don't know the answer soon enough, they're just going to walk away.
Yes.
That's what happens.
because it would take 2 years to find that answer,
Correct.
just to know if you could do that or
And
not.
like Mark said, they want it built. So But another question, follow up real quick, and then we can go through this water closer. But when you did this, is there any, look at, like you've got, with the sewer and water now going out to Pokagon, you have some stuff in your ETJ, right? Did I say that right?
What's ETJ?
Your extra.
Extraterritorial jurisdiction, that means it's
Means the city-
outside of our city limits, but still under us for governing, for planning and zoning.
So you have some water outside of that as well. What are the thoughts on annexing anything in the future? And you probably didn't take any of that into consideration at this point, or did you? When I say that, I'm thinking like some of that, there's going to be some sewer infrastructure in place because most of it's on the wasters, but there's not going to be any water at that point in time. And do you have some water outside of in the ETJ now?
Very little.
You got the
Okay.
Pokagon?
We have actually.
High school, is a high school outside of yours, or?
No.
So you're gonna have that now, that'll be something new for you, right? So when you do that, like you're with Pokagon, are you putting hydrants in and everything else along the way?
We've got a little bit out to Glendarren, right? We've got water and sewer that run, like those new houses that Andy just did on
Yeah.
back to Glendarren's clubhouse.
So did that go into
That's
this
in our
when they
ETJ.
looked at it or not? They looked at those 7 areas and didn't think about any of that?
Like the cost of annexation or?
No, what kind of load that would put onto the system as well?
Yes.
That's part of it as well.
Yeah, so they took those boundaries, whether they were in city limits or not, and they were fully served.
It was just those 7 development
Yes,
areas.
yeah.
But something that's already developed, like say you went out, you talked about Sheets property, say you took Northwood or whatever it's called, and say we're gonna add that in. That'll all be, that's above and beyond what anything's looked at this point in time, probably.
If it wasn't included in those 7 areas, and I guess like an example of that, Pleasant Lake.
Yeah,
So they took a boundary and counted houses and got a flow rate of,
Okay.
you take in Pleasant Lake, this is automatically what's coming to you. So that wouldn't be new development, but it would be a new area.
customer, yeah. And then those costs are gonna be spread across the existing ownership. That'll be a fun discussion. Send Mitch out for that. We know how those go. Anything that we should know, this cost is $63,000.
Yeah, so now that we showed you like all this stuff, like, yeah, so we did reach out to F&V, which is who did our wastewater study. They are heavily involved in Pokagon. We have had good luck with them, very, very good company, and this is their proposal. I did ask a follow-up question on a timeline, and what they put in their scope and budgeted for is a 6-month timeline.
Okay.
So you have that.
I don't know what everybody else's thoughts are, but to me, this is the kind of stuff we have to do. It's just my opinion.
So I agree with you, but now I'm at the grocery store and I gotta tell them that, hey, our superintendent told us we need to do this and this is why. So tell me why we need to do this.
Mitch is like, listen, I don't even know why I'm here. I'm just like,
For our overall growth, to see where we're at, I mean, we obviously know we have areas that aren't as well supplied like south of town. So, I mean, that's kind of what started it, like thinking about going to Pleasant Lake, like what that would do to our system. Would we need another tower? What the pressure would be like? Because we've had main breaks south of town and we just lose pressure everywhere. So, that's kind of been in my mind, like what would that do to our system? I mean, that honestly, that's really the area that bothers me the most is south. I think we're pretty good most everywhere else, but I don't know that 100%. So it would be nice to know that, have some hydraulic models and
Do you currently have a working hydraulic model for the water supply?
Will this
other than Pokagon.
study show the state of the infrastructure as well?
Yes.
So when you know, hey, we know we're gonna have to replace this line. It's 100 years old, but we know now we have a study, so now we know to replace it with this size of line at the same time. Is that what this will help with as well? Am I saying that correctly?
Like the age of our plant, what the life expectancy is, if we need to expand or just things like that. So yeah, the overall age of the infrastructure and all that.
So another complexity of the water versus sewer. So we talked about the sewer, like you got a pipe, only so much water can go down the pipe. You know, that's all it is. On the water side, we have to deal with pressures. So when you turn on your faucet in your house, you want to have good water pressure. Well, that's all calculated in, and if you're on a dead end line, you may not have good water pressure. You may not have good quality. So it is a little more complex because it adds another layer in that. And we could say, the water plants are like 50% capacity. So we say, oh, we're doing better than the sewer. But we may not have enough pressure for an industry to come in and be like, oh, you need 60 PSI and we can only serve you 25. That all comes out in this study, whereas now we could intuitively say, oh, you want something south of town? Probably not going to happen. Do we have numbers for it? No. This would give those numbers and then give us a tool of, if we want to develop south of town, okay, we need to start doing something so that when these people come, we can say, yeah, we can do this, and it's this pressure, and it's here. And I think it goes back to kind of what Bill was saying of historically, the city sat back and said, you want to come here? Okay, you build the road, you build the water, you build the sewer, you build the storm, you do all of this exactly how we want it, we'll take it, and then you're good to build whatever you want. Those days are really gone, and we have to figure out how to move forward and how to help that.
And what I've seen, you guys correct me if wrong, but you talk about 100,000 square foot building. You're talking warehousing and you got a small demand on sewer at that point in time. But you're gonna have a larger demand on your fire suppression system.
Correct.
So they're not going up proportionally. Is that, and that's where stuff is trending to less employees. But that fire suppression side, I'm sure is part of your calculation that is gonna create, and at that point, the advantage of that is, yeah, you have to build it so that you can handle it, but your plant is never processing
Right, it's just,
any of that. You're oversized at that point in time.
I don't know who this question goes to, but how many of those 7 areas are in our TIF?
Can you scroll back to that?
So Serenova,
Where was the map? Oh, right here.
if you go up, you can,
Towards the top.
yeah, that's kind of where it started. And I can rattle off, I have it highlighted. The verbiage of what the 7 areas are.
It looks like it's Serenova and the Sheets property, and then that property out by Mutton's there. Is that what that other one is? Would that be
East of
residential? And then the other one is down by where Stories over there at Reddington Heights, which is
I
residential.
mean, these were just areas that they projected potential growth for that sewer study.
So the areas that we looked at were Pokagon State Park, the undeveloped parcel south of Maya, the commercial area of Serenova, and then the residential area of Serenova we looked at separately. So those were 2 different areas. The Sheets property northwest of the city there.
It's not in our TIF.
So that is,
Which one's not, you ask?
I don't think the Sheets property.
That's Chuck Sheets'
Right, it's
homestead
outside
where
town.
it is right now. We've had multiple developers look at that. We would have to annex that in, which we are planning to do if something gets developed there. But I do not think it's a parcel we added in our.
It's not, but
Because it
those,
was residential.
but those, depending on how
And
that's
it was outside
developed,
city limits, yeah.
you guys seen plans, depending on how that's developed, utilities will come potentially off of Woolard Extended if they've developed that way, or will it come off of,
It would come off of Harcourt.
okay. It's because we have Woolard Extended through there, that's why I ask how close that, but a lot of what they have is residential, wouldn't tie into the TIF, but more housing leads to more growth, which comes to, you know, us in a roundabout way, and that's where they haven't bought in the past. Well, it doesn't, why am I doing this? It doesn't tie, well, no, it does tie in. It's
And I
a-
will tell you guys too, that in talking to some other communities now, especially with SB1, residential TIFs are a big thing right now. We do not have any, and we did not do that this first time around because we were specifically just not doing that. We were specifically focused on commercial areas. So
But
that
it
is,
sounds like at least 2 of
kind of
those
our
areas
next-
are directly in the TIF that we currently have.
yes, you're right.
So I'm gonna ask a question that nobody wants to ask. But what does this do if this big elephant that they're talking about coming to town potentially in the next however many years, what does that do? And nobody knows location, I understand that, but we're the city of Angola, we're gonna be the ones that are gonna get involved in some way or another, probably on service, depending on location, right? What does that do? Is that completely?
What's the utility demand of a casino? That's what we're asking.
Yeah, I mean,
It's huge. So,
Very huge.
you know, we oversized and we're pretty insistent on the size of the water and sewer going to Pokagon for any future development. We looked at, and it kind of got reduced in scope because of funding, but we looked at having some areas that we can extend it further north. So I know that in reading newspaper articles, and, you know, I'm not involved in any of that, but there seem to be targeting within a half mile of the 69 toll road, which is prime for where we're putting water and sewer right now. So from a utility standpoint, I think it would be awesome because we have oversized that to look at the growth
Okay.
all the way from our city limits to Pokagon, and that would be
But you and I
That was fine.
discussed that before too, is being involved out there. There's all of those hotels, the malls, all of that stuff would benefit from having water out there. I mean, sewers be good, but they're on waste district, at least they have that, but the water, they have, that cost to build out there is that much more for these cisterns and fire suppression and everything else. What these hotels are testing and like.
And we recognize as a region, and Mark can attest to this, I've talked about this, like at economic development, being on the board there, is that as a region, whether we can annex north or not, we don't know at this point in time, but, or how far north, or what we can do, if that's even feasible, or if the county wants to do a TIF for that, whatever. But we recognize that if something benefits Fremont, it benefits us. If it benefits Pleasant Lake, it benefits us. Like we are not sitting on an island that we want everything only happening inside our city limits. Now, do we as a board want things happening in our TIF district? Absolutely. But as a region and as a community and as growth and as we look at things, we have to recognize that regionally in Steuben County, we want to benefit each other because it all benefits our schools, it benefits our community, our housing. So, recognizing that is something, again, we are not just focused on just inside our city limits. Knowing, again, clearly we are with our TIF and whatever, but economically, we want the whole county to benefit.
So can I put this out there? Because we'll talk about it for a long time.
I don't know.
Can I say, Mitch, if as a TIF we agreed that we would help with this, would you guys be able to come to the table with some of the dollars as well to show that there's a partnership?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in all fairness, this wasn't something that we budgeted for 2026.
Right.
However, Retha, Mitch, and I have had conversations on the importance of this, and if someone, your board, I guess, being interested in contributing, we're gonna do everything that we can to find those remaining dollars, so.
I just think from our standpoint, not that we couldn't do it or could do it, but I think it's always good to have some buy-in from that department. It's a good standard to set moving forward with other projects, but I don't know, my suggestion is that Mitch comes back to us with what he would be willing to do and we talk about it at the next meeting and maybe take a vote on it. What are your guys' thoughts?
I have one further question. Like, I agree in principle, it's a great thing to do, because it sounds like, okay, we can supply any askers with what the sewer capability is. We would like to be able to do that with water, with natural gas, and electricity. What about the natural gas and electricity?
He's a lot easier to work with than any other two. That's why we're here.
We will show up to your meetings. Electricity, natural gas, maybe not.
We'll take care of the water, you take care of the gas.
You hate to say no to one because someone else won't come to the table. You know what I mean? Like, we only can control what we can control, and only those that will show up will show up.
True that, but anyone who comes to us thinking they want to develop, they're not going to develop unless they have all.
No, but we are doing our
So
part.
here's the difference, okay? If we get a study, which we need to, and they might have them, we haven't asked that question. The studies are out there for electric and gas. Has anybody seen them or not recently?
Isn't EDC involved in?
The problem is when those get done, those are done, like, the city will do it and NIPSCO will do it and they won't agree on what they found. The information will not.
So the
Be the
EDC,
same.
the county, the commissioners, the
City,
mayor, they have partnered together. They're working with NIPSCO trying to get capacity. Isaac is fairly knowledgeable on where they want growth, what they're looking at, what their capacity is. He may have some of that information. In fact, I know he does have some of it. I don't know if it's put into a study that's readily accessible for us. I'm not sure, but that's a good question, and I will find out from him what he has for gas.
And again, I don't even know if we're supposed to be talking about this from an EDC perspective, but our ask today is substantially less than what we're committing to on the.
Correct.
Substantially less.
Yeah. So I'm going to go ahead with this, and then I'm going to follow up with yours and say, I'm going to ask that we get Isaac, he's probably the spokesman for that, to come and share what Amanda and Mitch have shared on where they're at. Because it's gonna be easier to get him than it is gonna be somebody
Yeah.
from the gas and
It would,
electric.
it would, I mean, this
And ask
would
him
look
to come
really
into
good to anybody coming in if we can figure out how to get all 4 major utilities. Like, here's what you need. Here's who you talk to.
Right.
Right? I know it may not be easy, and we should work on the hardest thing, but
I think we're closer to that than.
Yeah.
We're locked in.
Yeah, we're closer to that, I think, than you think.
Yep. Are we
And
good?
as Carrie said, this is, when we talked at our executive session, this is something that we can control for the city's infrastructure. So I can't necessarily control what NIPSCO does or REMC or anybody else. But these are things that when I know something wants to come in, I'm going straight to my engineer going, what do you think about this? And you know, she's got that information. So this is something that we can control for upcoming development, just for information purposes, to be ready to so Mitch knows, hey, I've got to expand in this area. I mean, these are things that we can do. Again, some of that other is out of our control, but
Amanda, would you have a map on REMC and NIPSCO in town where they serve?
We do have a map that shows the boundaries. As far as I know, it's up to date. I mean, it was.
I looked at it just the other
But yeah, I
day, and I
could.
could-
If we could get that, that might be helpful too. And then I would say if you guys agree with that, Mitchell comes back with us, or in the meantime, let us know what it would be. And then we try to get Isaac here at the next one.
if we had such a map and a little bit of other data, how far are we from just hiring the same consulting company to give us our own study?
So, well,
NIPSCO won't release that. So I've asked, like,
No? Okay.
and I've been willing to sign any NDA, anything to like see their distribution as we're doing plans, and they won't. budge.
Pipe sizes, lengths, pressures, nothing.
So I don't, I think that's a great idea, but I don't think you'd get anywhere, to be honest.
and I
I do
don't
think Isaac could give you a lot of that information though. If he would do it, I don't know, but I know he knows them. He knows that stuff.
The other issue we have, in the meetings I've been in, the city has, or the county EDC has done some of those studies, paid a third party to do it in certain areas, and when they bring it in, NIPSCO denies all of that and says it's not right, and that's what you're gonna run into, because they did not agree to that third party. I think that's what keeps happening.
That's their blanket thing without looking at it because they have their own data that they won't share.
But that's what keeps happening though, is if we paid for it, it wouldn't be of any value to them, because we can't tell them they have to follow it.
But our customer is not them?
It is.
How?
Because they control our customer. And that's why we've been where we are. They control the customer.
so
If you don't believe it, we can give you a list of some people who spent $500,000 because of them. And they control the customer.
Yeah, but did they spend $500,000 and would our own study have predicted that yes, you were gonna have to spend that $500,000? Because I don't think they're actually looking at the study and saying, no, that's not right. I think they're just saying, we did not sponsor that, so that's not right.
No, they're saying it's not right. I've heard that in those conversations.
Like technically, they're looking
Isaac
at
will
it
tell them
like,
that
you didn't.
they have plenty of gas here to
you
come
didn't
this
model that
direction.
correctly.
They'll say they have plenty here, come from this way. Say, no, we don't. We can't come from there. We have to come from here. And that's what keeps happening. So that's been a year or two ago. So that's why I say we just bring Isaac in and let him share his side of the equation.
okay, so I can ask Isaac if he can be at the next meeting, and what you are asking is, Mitch, and I'm gonna check my budgets as well, what we can possibly put in for this water study. And do you guys feel, I will print out that scope of work for you. I'm sorry I don't have it tonight. I'll email that to you, but you guys feel like next meeting you are willing to take a vote and say, if Mitch comes back and says, hey, I think I can find 20 grand, we're willing to say, all right, here's what we can cover, here's what.
I would say so. I mean, I think this is the best thing we can spend our money on at this point in time.
I am.
It's the only.
It's a good step one.
Okay. All right. Are you good with that, Mitch? Okay. So that's what we will do in April. Right? April. Are we in March right now? Yes. April 8th is our next meeting. You guys have a calendar in front of you. It does show AIF
in blue, ignore that, or not, I don't care. Redevelopment is in pink, and I'm giving that to you. So you guys can add meetings to your calendars. I will still send out reminders clearly, but just so you have something to hang on your refrigerator and look at every day. Wonder when we get to come together again. So April 8th is our next meeting. Mitch, do you feel like that's doable by April 8th?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
I don't know. Why is the one in November on a Thursday? It's like the 11th, your birthday or something? Veterans Day?
Veterans Day, okay.
The 11th, my birthday. What?
You got this, I got a meet on your birthday. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I move.
John makes a
Okay, Bill, thank you.
adjourn. Do we have a second?
Second.
Seconds, all in favor.
Bill, are you back by April 8th?
But we decided Bill was in that witness protection thing.
Hey, Bill, are you back by the April 8th meeting or no?
I'm surprised it's his normal voice. Shouldn't it be like digitally altered?
I'll be
Okay,
there for April.
okay, awesome, thank you.
Okay, see ya.
Bye.
Bye.